To forge a better tomorrow. The sound of metal striking metal echoed through the cavernous forge. Sparks danced in the dim light as Aaron swung his hammer, his brawny arms glistening with sweat. Each strike was precise, deliberate, a testament to decades of experience. This was no ordinary blade he was crafting. It was a symbol, a promise to humanity's survival. Above him, the artificial sun dimmed briefly, signaling the end of the station's simulated day. Aaron paused to wipe his brow and glanced at the small photograph pinned above his workbench. It showed a smiling young girl with bright eyes and braided hair. Her name was Lena, his daughter, who lived planet-side with thousands of others, clinging to a fragile existence on humanity's last habitable colony. Aaron's forge wasn't on that colony. It was aboard Sanctuary, a massive orbital station circling the planet, a last bastion of Earth's technological prowess. Here, scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to rebuild humanity's capabilities after Earth had been rendered uninhabitable by centuries of neglect and war. The blade he was crafting, however, wasn't a tool of destruction. It was part of something greater, the Exodus Project. This initiative sought to create a fleet of vessels capable of carrying humanity to the stars, where a new beginning awaited. Aaron's contribution was the core shielding for the vessel's engines, made from a nearly indestructible alloy he had spent years perfecting. As he inspected the glowing metal, a soft chime interrupted his thoughts. The forge's AI spoke in its calm, neutral tone. "Master Blacksmith Aaron, Chief Engineer Hera requests your presence in the observation deck." Aaron frowned, setting his hammer down. It was rare for Hera to summon him directly. The observation deck offered a breathtaking view of the planet below. Aaron found Hera standing near the glass, her lithe frame silhouetted against the azure orb. She turned as he approached, her face grave. "Aaron," she began, "there's been a breach." His heart sank. "A breach? On Sanctuary?" She shook her head. "No, on the surface. The settlements were attacked by something. We're not sure if it's local wildlife or something else, but the damage is extensive. The Council is considering a temporary evacuation to the station until we can secure the area." Aaron's mind raced. An evacuation meant the station's resources would be stretched thin. It would delay the Exodus project, possibly by years. "What do you need from me?" he asked. Hera smiled faintly. "That alloy you've been working on, it might not just save the ships. We think it could be the key to fortifying the colonies, if we could outfit their defenses with your material." "I'll need more resources," Aaron said immediately. "You'll have them," Hera replied, "but we need results, quickly." Over the next weeks, Aaron worked tirelessly. The forge became his world, each strike of his hammer driving away doubt and fatigue. Engineers and metallurgists flocked to his side, implementing his designs for barriers, weapons, and tools. The first shipment of reinforced equipment was sent to the surface, and reports soon followed. The defenses held. The mysterious attackers, later identified as a species of aggressive insectoid creatures, were repelled. Aaron's alloy became the backbone of the colony's survival, but he didn't stop there. His work laid the foundation for the next generation of technology, ensuring humanity not only endured but thrived. Years later, Aaron stood once again in the observation deck. This time, Lena was by his side, now a young woman with her own place in the forge. Together, they watched as the first of the Exodus ships ignited its engines, bound for the stars. "Do you think they'll make it?" Lena asked softly. Aaron smiled, his hand resting on her shoulder. "We forged their path, didn't we? They'll make it, and so will we." The ship vanished into the void, a blazing symbol of hope. Humanity's story was far from over, it was just beginning. To forge a better tomorrow, the journey begins. The crowd in the hangar bay cheered as the Aurora's flame departed, its engines flaring brilliantly. It was the first of many ships designed to carry humanity beyond the confines of their fragile colony and orbital station. For Aaron, now retired from the forge, it was a moment of bittersweet pride. His life's work had laid the foundation for the journey, but he knew this was only the beginning. Lena, now a lead engineer on the Aurora's flame, stood at the helm of the ship. Her heart raced with excitement and trepidation as they left the safety of Sanctuary's orbit. Around her, the bridge buzzed with activity, the crew coordinating the ship's systems and monitoring its trajectory. The mission was clear: locate a suitable system where humanity could expand, plant roots, and rebuild. A world of potential. Weeks into their journey, the ship's long-range sensors detected an anomaly. It wasn't a planet, nor a star, but a vast, ancient structure floating in the void. Lena's curiosity overpowered her caution, and the crew decided to investigate. As they approached, the structure's grandeur became evident, a lattice of interlocking rings encasing a dying red star. "It's a Dyson swarm," muttered Drive, Elias Carr, the ship's astrophysicist, his voice tinged with awe. "Whoever built this, they were centuries, maybe millennia ahead of us." The crew debated entering the structure. Some feared the risks, others saw an unparalleled opportunity. Lena sided with the latter. "If we're going to forge a better tomorrow, we need to understand what came before us. This might hold the answers we're looking for." A legacy unveiled. Inside the structure, the crew discovered wonders beyond imagination: gravity-defying corridors, walls that shimmered with shifting light, and a central chamber filled with holographic projections of distant worlds. The Dyson swarm wasn't abandoned, it was a repository of knowledge, left behind by an extinct civilization. As Lena studied the projections, she found records of planets capable of supporting life, but there was a warning encoded in the data: beware the shadows. "What does it mean?" Lena asked, her brow furrowed. Elias, who had been decoding the archives, looked grim. "It seems this civilization faced a predator, something that thrived in darkness, devouring worlds. They built this swarm to escape it." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. They had thought the universe was theirs to conquer, but now it seemed they were stepping into a perilous legacy. Forging ahead. Lena relayed the findings to Sanctuary. Aaron listened to her transmission with pride and worry. His daughter had become a pioneer, but the dangers she faced were far beyond anything he had prepared her for. Still, he knew she would rise to the challenge. The Aurora's flame left the Dyson swarm with its databanks full of knowledge. Their destination was a world highlighted in the archives, a lush planet orbiting a distant star, but the warning lingered in Lena's mind: beware the shadows. The crew prepared for the unknown, outfitting their ship with every resource and weapon at their disposal. Lena carried a small keepsake, a shard of the alloy her father had forged, a reminder of where she came from and the strength of those who had paved the way. As the Aurora's flame descended toward the planet's surface, Lena stared out the viewport, determination etched on her face. "We'll survive," she whispered to herself. "We'll thrive. Whatever's out there, we'll face it, together." Humanity's journey was far from over. It had only just begun, and with every challenge, they would forge a better tomorrow. To forge a better tomorrow, shadows in the void, the Aurora's flame settled into orbit around the lush, green world the crew had named Haven. Its surface shimmered with promise: vast oceans, sprawling forests, and a breathable atmosphere. It was everything humanity could hope for, yet Lena couldn't shake the warning etched in her mind: beware the shadows. A new beginning. Exploration teams descended to Haven's surface, setting up initial habitats and testing the soil for agriculture. The planet was as welcoming as its scans had suggested. Rivers teemed with life, and the skies were alight with vibrant, colorful auroras that danced each evening. "This is it," Elias said as they stood on a hill overlooking the first settlement, "a place we can truly call home." Lena nodded, but her grip tightened on the shard of alloy in her hand. She had inherited her father's cautious pragmatism. As beautiful as Haven was, it felt too easy, too perfect. The first encounter. 2 months into colonization efforts, strange occurrences began. Equipment malfunctioned without explanation, survey drones disappeared mid-flight, and then the settlers started hearing whispers, faint, unintelligible murmurs that seemed to come from the forests. One evening, an exploration team failed to return from the jungle. Lena personally led the search party to find them. What they discovered sent chills through her. The teams abandoned camp, their gear intact, but no sign of the explorers. The ground was littered with strange, dark vines that pulsed faintly as though alive. "We need to leave," Elias said after examining the site. "Whatever built that Dyson swarm may have fled from this." Lena shook her head. "Not yet. We're not running at the first sign of trouble. We need answers." The shadows awaken. The whispers grew louder, The colonists began reporting vivid, haunting dreams of shadowy creatures with glowing eyes. Some claimed to see shapes moving in the distance, just beyond the light of their encampments. Lena tasked her team with studying the strange vines, and the results were unsettling. The vines were not only alive, they were sentient. They emitted faint electromagnetic signals that could interfere with equipment and even the human mind. They're not plants, Elias concluded grimly. They're part of something larger, something intelligent. That night, the settlement was attacked. The creatures came with the darkness, amorphous, shadowy beings that seemed to melt into the night. They struck with precision, targeting power systems and lights, leaving the colonists vulnerable. Lena rallied the settlers, her father's shard of alloy serving as a focus for her determination. We don't give up, not now, not ever. If the shadows want to drive us away, we'll show them humanity doesn't run. Forging a defense. The colonists quickly adapted, using the resources they had to create defenses. Lena drew upon her father's legacy, using the indestructible alloy to create barriers and weaponry capable of withstanding the shadow creatures' attacks. Her team discovered that the creatures were vulnerable to intense light and high-frequency sound. Using this knowledge, they constructed floodlights and sonic emitters to secure the settlement's perimeter. Still, the shadows grew bolder, probing for weaknesses. They seemed almost curious. Lena couldn't shake the feeling that this was a test, an evaluation of whether humanity deserved to stay. The Forge of Unity. Lena realized that survival required more than just defenses. It required understanding. She led a small, heavily armed team deep into the jungle, following the source of the strange electromagnetic signals. At the heart of the jungle, they discovered a massive structure, half buried and covered in vines. It pulsed faintly, the same way the vines had. Inside, they found an ancient control room filled with holographic displays and alien symbols. As Lena activated the controls, a voice filled the room, not in words, but in feelings, sorrow, longing, and a deep warning. The shadows weren't the enemy, they were guardians. The ancient builders of the Dyson swarm had created them to protect certain worlds from threats. Humanity's arrival was seen as an intrusion, a potential danger. Lena stepped forward, holding up the alloy shard. We're not here to destroy, we're here to build, to forge a better future, for ourselves and for this world. Let us prove it. The shadows hesitated, their forms shifting. Slowly, they withdrew. A fragile peace. Back at the settlement, the attacks ceased. The colonists began to thrive, carefully coexisting with the strange, sentient ecosystem of Haven. Lena knew the shadows were still watching, but they seemed willing to give humanity a chance. Years later, as Lena looked out over the flourishing colony, she thought of her father and the forge where it all began. Humanity had faced its greatest trial yet and emerged stronger, wiser, and more unified. The future was still uncertain, but one thing was clear: they were no longer alone in the universe, and to forge a better tomorrow, they would need to build bridges, not walls. To forge a better tomorrow, embers of alliance. The colony on Haven thrived in the years following humanity's fragile peace with the shadowy guardians of the planet. What had begun as a desperate gamble to establish a new home became a story of resilience and adaptation. The shadows, once perceived as a threat, now served as enigmatic allies, watching from the edges of the colony's light. But peace on Haven was only the first step in humanity's greater journey. A call from the stars. Lena stood in the Aurora's Flames rebuilt control center, her gaze fixed on a holographic map of nearby star systems. Since unlocking the ancient control room in the jungle, the colony had gained access to fragments of an interstellar network left by the builders of the Dyson swarm. The system was ancient, decayed, but not silent. A signal had arrived, a faint, rhythmic pulse from a system labeled Epsilon 84 in the archives. The shadows, though unable to communicate directly, responded to the signal by clustering near the colony's outskirts. Their movements agitated. It was clear they knew something about the source, but their silence left humanity to interpret the message on its own. This could be a chance to expand our knowledge, Lena said in a meeting with the colony's leaders. If the builders left this signal, we might find technology or resources to ensure our survival. Others were skeptical. And what if it's a trap? One council member countered. The shadows haven't exactly been forthcoming about what's out there. Lena's resolve hardened. Humanity didn't survive by hiding. If we want a better tomorrow, we have to take risks today. Into the unknown. The Aurora's flame, upgraded with knowledge from the Dyson swarm and equipped with defenses using Aaron's alloy, departed Haven with a volunteer crew. Lena led the mission, her heart both heavy and hopeful. She carried the shard of alloy her father had forged, a tangible reminder of humanity's strength and ingenuity. The journey to Epsilon 84 took weeks. The closer they drew to the system, the stranger the signals became, evolving into intricate patterns of light and sound that seemed almost alive. The crew began to experience dreams, visions of alien worlds, towering cities, and a great, spiraling void swallowing stars. It's like they're showing us their history. Drive, Elias Carr said, interpreting the signals. Whoever sent this, they want us to understand. The Forgotten Beacon. Epsilon 84 was a binary star system with a single planet orbiting at an unstable distance. The planet, covered in jagged, crystalline structures, glowed faintly in the dark, as though it absorbed light from the stars. Orbiting above it was the source of the signal, a massive station, larger than any human construction, but clearly ancient and heavily damaged. Lena and her team boarded the station, armed with caution and curiosity. Inside, they found vast halls filled with machinery, some still humming faintly. At its core was a glowing orb, pulsing in time with the signal. Elias approached the orb cautiously, his scanner whirring. "It's a beacon," he said, "and it's not just broadcasting, it's receiving. Something out there is still listening." Lena stared at the orb, feeling a chill run down her spine. Then who, or what, is waiting for a reply? A new threat. As the crew explored the station, they uncovered records that painted a grim picture. The builders of the Dyson swarm had not only fled a predatory force, they had fought it. The spiraling void from their visions was no natural phenomenon. It was a sentient, all-consuming entity, known in the records as the Devourer. The beacon was a warning, meant to alert surviving civilizations to the Devourer's approach, but it was also a call for help, a plea for unity against an enemy that no single species could defeat. Before Lena could process this revelation, the station shuddered. A shadow passed over the viewport, and the crew realized they were not alone. A massive, organic ship emerged from the planet's far side, its surface rippling like liquid. It wasn't the Devourer itself, but a herald, an advanced scout. The alien ship broadcast no signals, only an oppressive hum that rattled the bones. It opened fire without hesitation. The fight for survival. The Aurora's flame engaged in a desperate battle, its upgraded defenses barely holding against the alien vessel's advanced weaponry. Lena's quick thinking and the crew's ingenuity kept them alive long enough to exploit a weakness in the enemy's design. Using the alloy-based shielding, they deflected a critical energy blast back at the ship, crippling it. The alien vessel, damaged but not destroyed, retreated into the void, but Lena knew this was only a temporary reprieve. The Devourer's scouts would return, and next time, they wouldn't be alone. Forging alliances. Back on Haven, Lena presented her findings to the colony. The council was divided. Some wanted to fortify their defenses and prepare for war, while others argued for diplomacy and seeking alliances among the stars. "The Devourer is bigger than us," Lena said. "We can't face it alone." But the builders left this beacon for a reason. They believed in unity. "We need to find others like us, civilizations willing to stand together." The shadows, ever watchful, seemed to agree. For the first time, they approached the humans directly, forming shapes that mimicked their gestures. It was their way of saying they would stand with humanity. The first step. The colony began preparations for a grand expedition, using the beacon to search for other survivors of the Devourer's onslaught. The shadows, now fully allied with humanity, shared their knowledge of the void, revealing hidden routes and ancient warnings. As Lena prepared to lead this next journey, she stood by her father's forge, running her fingers over the shard he had given her. "We've come so far," she whispered, "and we have so much further to go." The path ahead was uncertain, but Lena knew one thing for sure: humanity was no longer forging its future alone. Together with their allies, they would face the darkness, and forge a better tomorrow.